Welcome everybody, and thanks for the opportunity to present. I'm going to present on a piece of work that we've been doing over the last sort of 12 to 18 months. It was led by Kalinda Watson out of our team, and she's not able to present today, so I'm going to do it for her. It does mean I might not be able to answer every question that you might want to throw at us, but by all means, put them forward anyway, and we'll get back to you afterwards if need be. So this project, I guess, if you talk in a general sense, water is obviously an important input for production, maybe even undervalued or underconsidered. It's a bit of a given that we have good, safe, quality water, but that's not always the case, and if it goes bad, it can cause a lot of issues. So there's two, I guess, key issues, if you like, source quality and then effects that relate to your distribution system. And to address this, about 18 months ago, the industry commissioned a best practice guide to provide generally agreed information to the industry. You'll find, of course, there's information from some of the grower guides as well, and we used them pretty substantially and tried to come up with one agreed position on most of these issues. So what we did in the project, we did a survey of industry practices and experience, and I'll share some insights from that. Then there was a review, and like I mentioned, covering off on the literature and also the existing guidance on pre-sanitisation treatments, low-cost sanitisation treatments, distribution, quality and management practices, and we combined that into a best practice guideline, and that should be released, well, hopefully within a week. It's only just been finalised just now, so it should be available very soon. And obviously I can't go through everything in that. It's quite a substantial sort of reference document, but I'll try and give you an idea of what it contains, so that if you find these questions are interesting, you know where to look. I'll start with the survey. So this covered all the major regions, all the major companies, and I guess we picked up some general information. Where do people source water from? And you see there from the figure down below, most sourced from bores from the sample that we had, a fairly substantial contingent from dam, river and town water. So they all have different sort of characteristics. With them, we're also asking about what are the most common treatment, and not surprisingly, chlorination and filtration as well were common. Over 70% of survey participants maintained a disinfectant residual between 0.1 and 3 parts per million. And frequency of testing was variable, ranging, I guess, from no testing at all through to quarterly testing, and again, variable in terms of flushing as well. And I guess one thing we did note was that there was a proportion that didn't test water at all, about 30% of respondents. And I guess it probably comes back to, if it isn't a problem, then maybe it isn't being routinely tested, but it certainly would be considered best practice to do that at least annually. So a quick summary, and there's 14 points here. I won't go through everyone in detail, but we were asking about what issues people are facing, and there's a whole range from high minerals and salts causing scale, and then problems for the water system from there. Microbial contamination, high organic matter, especially where you're drawing from dams, surface water, even river water as well. Algae, again, where you're drawing from dams or river. Weather events, basically all the systems that are exposed to those sort of natural fluctuations. There were issues there. Supply, certainly at the time we were doing this survey, was right in the middle of the drought, and that was a big issue for a lot of people, and also having an effect on water quality in some cases. Again, specific and probably related to bore more so. We've got high iron or manganese, again, causing scale and other types of issues. And then more through to maintaining residuals and how to actually manage these systems effectively. So anyway, a whole range of issues, and that gave us some guidance for what we needed to cover in the guideline. As far as what we were able to achieve, we put together the best practice manual, and just to give you an idea, I mentioned before, it is a pretty substantial type of document, sort of 80 pages long, and I'll just read out the sort of headlines, I suppose, chapters that it covers. There's water quality criteria. There's an overview of water quality issues in the industry, so description and talking through some of those issues that I mentioned very quickly there from the survey. Then there's a section on monitoring frequencies and systems, source water management, which is of course different depending on where you're drawing water from, pre-treatment, disinfection systems, water distribution systems, water system maintenance, and then towards the end there's a section on troubleshooting where we go through a lot of the issues that were mentioned to us and explain what you can do about it. So it's fairly extensive, and then it goes on to sort of, there's guidance on monitoring as well, and also some standard operating procedures that you may be able to adopt and integrate into your management. The document's set up hopefully in a way that's reasonably easy to follow, where we've got a performance goal and a description, and then what we call best practice level and then acceptable level. And that's sometimes a little bit hard to define, and every now and again it's the same for a really critical point. But there's other instances where, yeah, there's both best practice and also an acceptable range that might be a little bit high for the key criteria. So this gives you just a bit of an example. This is the water quality criteria drawn from all the sources that we could find that give guidance on this topic. And you see case of coliforms, both best practice and acceptable are the same, whereas it's a bit more variable when you come to conductivity and salt levels in water. Is ideal, and then you can probably tolerate up to a higher level as well without facing really substantial problems, just a bit harder to manage. So anyway, I won't go through all them in detail. They're there for you, and obviously there's guidance on testing regimes as well, and these are kind of values that you can check back against and say, okay, yep, we're within that value, so it's a tick, or if not, then it gives you something to investigate further, and then there's more guidance on what to do next. So you see there, fairly substantial lists. Information here on system monitoring and maintenance, and I guess some of this we've put together with a view, like some of it may be sort of obvious, clean gutters if you're using rainwater off the roofs, to improve water quality, but what it gives is hopefully a comprehensive type list that you can adopt it and give it to an employee, for example, and say, all right, we'll do this, or develop an operating procedure that ticks off these particular things in the routine, and keeps on top of problems before they're created. Again, troubleshooting goes through a whole range of issues there as well. So that pretty well covers it. Hopefully it gives you a bit of a snapshot, like I said, of what the manual will cover, and it should be available, well, hopefully within only a week or two from now.